Recently, Nikita, aka Trainfender, the boss man of Battlestate Games, game director of Escape from Tarkov, did an AMA on Reddit where players of the game asked questions and shared their frustrations with him directly. I'm going to take a look into the changes that have been made already, as well as some of Nikita's best answers, telling us what to expect for the future of Escape from Tarkov. Let me know in the comments what you think about these changes, and if you've got any other changes you'd like to see in the game, pop those in there as well. Off the back of the AMA, BSG have been quick to make some adjustments to the game already. First up, some flea changes. So the requirements for gaining more flea spots has been reduced. You will get your third slot as early as 7 flea rep. So for every 50k rubles sold on the flea, you'll earn 0.01 flea rep, and then once you've hit those milestones, you'll unlock more of those slots. Nikita also took to Reddit in a separate post yesterday saying that barter trades are being removed, or they will have been removed by the time of this video. So basically, any of those items where you see, a crazy quest key up there and it's needing to be swapped for a LEDX or a really hard to get item, those are going to be no more. It will only be cash exchanges between players on the flea market. In that same post, Nikita says that item examination will also become a thing of the past, which used to be such a tedious thing at the start of Wipe, having to go and examine all of those items before you could really jump in and start playing the game. It seems BSG have been listening to recent player feedback about how much time they have to spend in the stash and trying to buy those impossible to obtain task keys. Really looking forward to this change. Should make operating on the flea market a lot easier, and certainly some of those early game tasks way easier to complete when people can only sell those keys for cash. Some other changes announced on the Tarkov Twitter. Cultists and Reshala have had a spawn buff. Scavs will load later into those existing raids, so hopefully no more scavs, in the first few minutes of a raid. They'll be pushed back into later in the raid. Bosses will also be slightly less responsive, to the tune of about 30%. And Bitcoins now sell for significantly more, which seems to have boosted the price of GPUs as well. So maybe some of those components, CPU fans, things like that might also be required to get those upgrades happening on the Bitcoin farm as well. Shooterborn in Heaven has been reduced back to its original 100 meters, down from the 125 meters. This was in direct response to some of those questions and bits of feedback that had come through from the AMA and various other Reddit threads over the past week. The LEDX can now be crafted in Medstation 3 Upgrade again. Rather than being a craft that was locked behind some of the Lightkeeper tasks, it's now available to all as soon as you've unlocked Medstation 3. Although it's still locked, as you're going to need some of those items that at the moment are quest-only items from Lightkeeper. However, there are some rumors that maybe these are becoming a bit of a world spawn thing, so keep an eye out for those new manuals in the future, and you might be able to find some of those around. Now, onto the AMA. It seems like forever since Nikita took to Reddit to answer questions from players directly in the Escape from Tarkov subreddit. Recently, there's been a lot of criticism of BSG for lack of updates and discussion within the community, so here are some of the top and most exciting answers we can expect in the future regarding Escape from Tarkov. Regarding the anti-RMT changes, Nikita said that things like the Found in Raid changes and the level 15 flea were not actually anti-RMT changes, but were done to slow down player progression throughout a wipe. The dropping of key changes, so that's where you weren't allowed to drop keys to friends or anything anymore. They'd be destroyed if you were to try and drop them. So those changes were put in kind of both to combat both RMT and, of course, boosting of other players as well. Where is the line of RMT drawn? This has been a really hot topic for a lot of players over the recent period. There's been some rumors from players saying that they were false banned for receiving viewer kits or dropping back some gear. BSG have assured us that this is not the case. So Nikita says the principle is simple. If you drop millions of rubles worth of gear to other players, then you will be banned. Returning gear from time to time will not get you banned. So bringing in a friend's kit after they die appears to be no problem. Unless, of course, you are really going out of your way to drop millions and millions of rubles worth of gear. This isn't going to be a thing that affects you. By all means, keep bringing your mates' gear in after they die. So on the flea market, I'm sure we've all come across a listing that says, the guy's selling 50 packs of LEDX, and it seems a bit weird or seems like something that really shouldn't happen. Nikita says that these offers on the flea market are being reviewed constantly by BSG. and a reminder that you can also report any of these suspicious offers in the flea market to get reviewed by BSG. Now, some information that was exposed by some recent popular videos on the YouTube by some popular YouTube creators showed us a little bit of an insight into some of the information that the cheaters were actually able to see within their cheats and things like that. So right now it appears that information like player KDs, the location of every item in a map is it's being received by every player in a lobby. So in response to that, Nikita says that this is planned to change. I think this is a really positive change to reduce the ease of cheating. Huge W here. Really looking forward to reduction in that. In response to questions about BattlEye, so BattlEye, the popular kernel level anti-cheat, Nikita says it's here to stay. He does recognize, and it looks like there is some improvement that the team's aware of that they need to implement. But long term, BattlEye is going to be staying with us. And also long term, BSG plans on pursuing cheaters legally. So this seems like the right move. Even if it is, sort of logistically hard worldwide to do so, I'm interested to see what will start coming out of that as well. Hopefully we'll see some headlines with cheaters getting in trouble for that one. And further on the topic of cheaters, it seems that BSG actually do flag cheaters early on, but they currently let them play for a little while to gather information about the cheats they use to more effectively ban these exploits in the future. So if you've reported somebody and they're still there the next day, there's a good chance your report has worked. BSG are aware, but they're just collecting information and sort of statistics and logs, bits and pieces like that in order to catch everyone that's using that cheat or that exploit. And that's why we often see what people refer to as ban waves, where we're collecting a bunch of these people together, banning them all at once, and sort of going through that cycle. There was a few questions in this AMA as well, asking, what can players do to help make the cheating situation better? What should we be doing? How do we affect this change from what we have control over? And Nikita says the best way players can help with the cheating situation is to utilize the in-game report system, saying that if you feel like it was a cheater, to go ahead and report it. They'll obviously work out who's who and what's what. But basically, this ensures that the reports that are coming through, they're all synced with BattlEye, and that all of the appropriate logs are collected as well. It's really going to help them in determining who is cheating, what cheats they're using, and the exploits. So make sure you're using that report system there. It does work. Nikita has said previously on some of the Tarkov TV podcasts that there are some plan changes to implement a bit of a report system in game that says, hey, this player you've reported, they have been banned. So hopefully a little bit more feedback for players on the effect they're having on the cheating situation themselves is going to help promote that as a bit of a positive change. We've all been there, right? You peek a boss for a fraction of a second, maybe it's a rogue, maybe it's killer, only to die to 3 hits to the thorax in one shot. You hear one shot, you go to the after raid screen, you see 3 hits there. What the hell's going on? Nikita says the BSG is still trying to replicate this bug and get to the bottom of it. One of the changes that looks like they've made just in the last couple of days is a 30% reduction in the reaction speed for these bosses. So hopefully that'll give you a little bit more time to negotiate on those peaks and get a shot onto those bosses before you're getting triple tapped and sent back to the lobby. Visibility and lighting changes appear to be coming for all maps. Nikita agrees that the interchange lighting, for example, is, in quotes, is bad and needs to be done differently. Please, BSG, make interchange great again. I beg you. The lighting there is terrible. Really looking forward to some changes here and seeing what they can bring about for all maps. Additionally, we're going to see some optic overhauls that are planned for the release of the game. Hopefully this is going to fix a bunch of those long-standing bugs related to optics and performance drops. Things like with the ACOG or, eye relief and things like that. Different zoom levels that just aren't available on scopes when they clearly should be. We should be seeing a lot of these changes come around the release of the game. Locking items and containers in your stash is now also a planned new feature. Personally, this is a quality of life change I cannot wait for. Having the ability to be able to lock my containers in place, press the sort button while all of the junk gets sorted into where it needs to go, so that I can then drag those into containers without having to, reset my containers every time. I can't wait for this one. Make it happen. It's going to be a brilliant change. So some updates as well in this AMA on the upcoming Tarkov Arena. It does sound like it's coming pretty soon, so I'll cover more information on this as it becomes available. It's certainly going to be a huge thing for the Tarkov community. It's going to potentially become its own esport. I'm super excited for it. I can't wait to put on some tournaments, especially in the OCE region for this game. But for now, all I can say is that the BSG team have been holding internal tournaments for testing purposes pretty frequently. And feedback, well, it sounds amazing. But we'll find out for ourselves fairly soon, hopefully. Replays are also coming for Tarkov Arena, with changes to the game being developed to accommodate this. So, given that Arena and the main game share so much code, there's a really good chance that once this is implemented in Arena, that it won't be that hard to implement in the main game. Now, whether that's by the way of kill cams or after raid replays, we're not sure how this will be implemented yet, but it sounds like it's going to be a very real possibility to bring to the main game. An answer that surprised me in this AMA actually was that, BSG are normally fairly tight-lipped around how many players are actively playing the game. It's not a statistic that's publicly available. Any sites that say they have the numbers of players, they're wrong. They're just pulling numbers out of thin air. Nikita says that the online players usually vary between 70k to 120k, I guess, per day during a week. Obviously with, that 120k, I'm sure, around those peak NA times on the weekends, and that it's growing every day. Loadout resets are planned and apparently ready to be worked on. It seems that there'll be some focus on reducing the time between raids, gearing, and queue times and things like that, so expect more of these quality of life features all to be in the works according to Nikita, and likely will be coming on release of the game. Personally, I look forward to the day where if I die 30 seconds into a raid, it's not going to be 10 minutes before I'm playing again. When asked if Nikita even plays the game himself, he says that I struggle too. This is what EFT is about. You start to play, you get wrecked, you repeat, become better. It really does sound like he certainly gets what happens in the game. There was a few other questions surrounding, would BSG do a charity stream where it's, level 0 to 15 or something like that, where Nikita plays through the game? I'd love to see that happen. That would be amazing. But yeah, certainly. Nikita says he definitely does play the game, and a few of the other BSG staff do there as well. Now, Escape from Tarkov is a difficult game, and it's certainly got a massive learning curve for these for new players coming into the game. Nikita announced in this AMA here that there is actually going to be a new map that is specifically designed and only available for low-level players. So he says players that are under level 10. Potentially is a bit of a training map, I would guess. We'll find out more about this in the future, hopefully, but should be a really nice way to get those new players into the game and sort of have a bit of a level playing field for their first few hours in Tarkov to get a feel for it before being plunged into, some heavier maps like Lighthouse or Streets. And finally, Nikita says that there are no more big features until the release of the game. So it looks like if we're expecting anything more about the story elements of the game and massive big features and things like that, that's all being pushed off until the release of the game. Likely there'll be a big patch there. And it looks like the team is just going to be focusing on optimizations and bug fixes before release. Now, to me, it sounds like this means that release is probably sooner than we think, given that, we really can't sustain 2 years without any content updates. And if these guys are only focusing on those optimization and bug fixes, we're going to have a really good time over the next little while and next few patches with some of those changes coming into place. Well, it was a jam-packed AMA with honestly more than I was able to cover in this video. Links for the full AMAs are in the description, and let me know in the comments if there's anything you want me to cover in more detail. I can go and find more information about that and hopefully bring it to you in a separate video. Personally, I am really enjoying the recent uptick in communications from BSG. I know this seems like it's off the back of some recent community backlash about there being a lack of communication. It may very well be the case, but for what it's worth, I'm loving this new set of communication that's coming through. It's been fantastic. I hope they keep it up. And if you liked this video, make sure you subscribe for more news content in the future, particularly surrounding that Tarkov Arena, which sounds like it's just around the corner. Thanks for watching.